Hi, this is Lee with the New Stack. I'm joined by a few guests here at ChefConf in Austin. We have Joab Jackson, managing editor of the New Stack, here with us.
Hello.
We're also joined by Jason Hand of VictorOps.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Jason, good to have you. Also, Wallgren.
Anders Wallgren, yep. From Electric Cloud, and happy to be here.
And CTO at
CTO at Electric Cloud,
Very good, very good. Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, it's good to see that you've escaped the heat and humidity outside a little bit.
Thank goodness for air conditioning.
Austin in July is not quite Austin in May, but I understand next year ChefConf will be here in Austin again, but towards springtime, I think.
Yeah.
I think we all learned on it.
22nd to the 25th, something like that.
Oh, that's great.
Should be good.
Lesson learned.
Continuous improvement.
Yeah. Speaking of continuous improvement, that's probably part of what we want to try to chat about today. That's certainly I think why people are drawn to tools like Chef, but also there's a couple of tools that you guys represent here today between Electric Cloud and VictorOps that are about those very concepts. To our listeners that aren't familiar necessarily with Electric Cloud, Anders, what's this?
So, basically what we do is we work with our customers to help automate their software release pipelines. To basically, so we're essentially just a DevOps release automation tool where we're not doing your build, we're not necessarily a testing tool or any of those things, but we're automating that entire pipeline. So from the moment an engineer checks in a piece of code to, through CI, through testing, through pre-prod, into production all the way. We do the automation of the building, the testing, the deployments, all of those kinds of things, and at an enterprise level. So our customers tend to be, Fortune 20 banks and, large organizations that need to do this for not just one or two applications, but for, 6,000 applications on 144,000 nodes, and, those kinds of interesting, meaty kind of problems with regulatory issues and all the kinds of things that comes with that, security and everything, all the fun things that you have to worry about when you're doing DevOps.
You guys have been at this for
quite a while. Yeah, we've been around. I've been at the company for almost 12 years now. We started out and built sort of what the company started with was a parallel distributed make, which we still sell. That's still a huge part of our product portfolio. But it's basically take your 12-hour long C and C++ build and make it 20 minutes. By running it on a cluster of computers and make it correct every time and sort of solve the problem that way. And that's where we got started in 2002. And since then, we've kind of gone from the build all the way over to the right to where we're now managing the entire kind of delivery chain for the software for our customers.
And Joab, we were just talking about building a moment ago with Barry Christ and Adam Jacob of Chef.
Yes.
Habitat has a builder component, a new component in there. Have you guys had a chance to kind of absorb Habitat and part of its functionality? What are your thoughts?
So I did see a demo that Adam had given a couple weeks ago on Habitat, and super exciting, very interesting. I haven't had a chance to really get in there and have any hands-on experience with it. It's not necessarily something in my role as a tech evangelist that I would really do much with, but some of the stuff that they announced yesterday with the whole Chef Automate, they've got the workflow, which was formerly delivery, and now they've got this new thing called visibility. That's actually what I'm more interested in is this kind of growing idea, growing concept that the things that are happening within configuration management or as you're managing things within Chef, things are going to go wrong and something's going to happen and somebody needs to be alerted about that and needs to know about it quicker so that they can kind of get things fixed and move along about their day. And so I'm really interested to see more about the visibility thing, not to take anything away from Habitat, that sounds amazing, but that piece is very unique to what we do at VictorOps. Like we take that stuff, we'll ingest whatever's going wrong and try to make sense of it and get it to the right people so they can kind of repair and fix things much quicker. So Habitat I think sounds super cool, but personally I'm really excited about the visibility aspect of it.
Under the Automate.
Of the whole Chef Automate package, yeah.
What's the integration story like today just between VictorOps and Chef and now sort of with visibility?
So what VictorOps is kind of at its core is it's an on-call and an incident management platform. So we can ingest literally anything over a RESTful endpoint, send something to our REST endpoint. And we've got native integrations with all the big monitoring and anomaly detection services out there. there, Nagios, Datadog, New Relic, you name it, all of them. There's always more, seems like, every month that I hear about. But we kind of ingest all that stuff, and because these days nobody's really using just one monitoring solution for everything. They're kind of using different stuff for different reasons, and lots of people need to be aware of things, have a better awareness of what's going on with their infrastructure and their code base. And so as something, as one of your anomaly detection services, let's just say Datadog, because they're right here through the door here, when they detect something's wrong or something is out of normal bounds, that comes into us, and then because we're scraping or ingesting all this information from Datadog and all the other monitoring systems, we can help make sense of that, rather than just going off into the abyss of our inboxes or just being a flappy alert, going into Slack or HipChat or something. We can help make sense of that and provide more context and give the person who's on call everything that they would need to actually respond and do something about it right now. And that's sort of the whole deal. One of the big conversations with DevOps is reducing the time it takes to repair from a problem. So, reducing MTTR, the mean time to repair. And that's one of the things that we focus on, is actually giving the on-call engineer everything they need so they can do something right away. So this whole idea of things that are coming in from Chef or any other tool out there, if you're interested in it and you need to know when something's not right or it's out of the normal bounds of whatever's normal, that comes to us, and then we make sure the right person gets it and makes use of it.
So integration there being just key to your value add, your play.
Right.
I mean, one of the things, and I know Anders, you'd mentioned integration as well in terms of that.
I identify with you. There seems to be more of them all the time aspect, because we're,
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of integrations and counting for our product, and and the interesting thing too, and I don't know if you guys run into this quite as much, because our product is on-prem. So our customers tend to be, they a lot of them actually do run things in AWS and Rackspace and all of those kinds of things, but they tend to prefer some things to be still inside the firewall, for compliance, for lots of reasons, most of which will hopefully go away at some point, and we don't have to worry about it too much. But so there's a lot of custom homegrown systems that we have to work with often, because people that you couldn't buy or open source this stuff 10 years ago, right? So people built it, and those things are still around. They may want to get rid of them, but that may not be practical overnight. So doing integrations is a pretty key aspect of kind of where we bring value to our customers.
Those integrations really help in building out those pipelines, continuously delivering software, and in context, and that's sort of how DevOps is in part come to be around continuous delivery. But there's this other term, Joab, I know I've heard you kind of talk about it, and Ryan, I guess, or I'm sorry, Jason, is ChatOps.
Yes. We're seeing increasing interest on the website about the technologies behind ChatOps and what it could provide. I don't really understand that much about it, but it seems like you get a command line in Slack, or that's the beginning of it. So I was wondering if you could tell us more about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a close metaphor. Is it's taking the these days a lot of companies are using group chat, moving away from email and instant messages, because we have this idea that we need to be more transparent and open and collaborative, and cross-functional high-performing teams need.
We're often not in the same state,
right?
So,
Right, and so we've moved to tools like HipChat, Slack, FlowDoc, even IRC, because that tends to help dissolve these artificial silos that we end up creating. And so by doing that, we're just all a lot more aware of what's going on, and therefore a lot more enabled to do something. So anyway, we've moved into group chat, right? That's just sort of the new thing that everybody has. Everybody loves Slack, and HipChat's great. But what if we take this group chat and we make it the interface to do literally everything else that we do in our day job? So it's sort of juxtaposing the tools and the services that we use throughout our day to deliver software and maintain it and everything, and put that in line with the conversations that we're having about that stuff. So rather than me as a developer maybe contributing code or pushing code out to a feature branch or something from my terminal, and then hopping into Slack or HipChat and saying, hey, I just pushed my code, everything looks good, you guys can do your thing now. What if I just did it from within group chat? What if I allowed either an integration with the chat client itself, or I've written a bot, or I use some of the open source bots that are out there? What if I let that make it so that I'm enabled to do work from within group chat? The cool thing there is like there's all these extra byproducts and benefits that come along with it. So I'm still getting my task done by pushing code to the feature branch that I'm working on, but I also communicated immediately to my team that I did it. I showed them the results, it worked or it didn't. I taught them how to do it. And then there's all these other benefits, just greater awareness of what's going on. And so that's kind of a real quick explanation of what ChatOps means. It's really just taking a lot of the operations and the development stuff and moving it into group chat. And it speeds up things and just makes teams smarter and more aware of what's going on. And we started talking a lot about it because VictorOps, without us even realizing it, we were providing a ChatOps sort of solution. So whether you're using VictorOps, the product, the interface from a web browser or from our mobile app, you go in and you can acknowledge incidents and resolve incidents and maybe pull in graphs and do all kinds of stuff right from within there. And that's what ChatOps is initially, or at a very basic level. Now it's grown far beyond just incident management and saying, okay, I'm taking a look at this problem and here's what I'm seeing. It's grown out into this whole new thing, and so I talk a lot about it because it ties closely with what VictorOps provides.
Yeah, we did. I saw a great demo last year at the DevOps Enterprise Summit that we run with Gene Kim and IT Revolution, and Lucas Gravely from HP, although I think he's now at General Electric here in Austin. They did an awesome implementation of ChatOps on top of Electric Flow, our product, and a bunch of other products as well. And they demoed it at the show. You could probably Google it and get the YouTube video. But it was just an amazing. I'd never seen it before. I'd never even heard of it before, right? And it was just this big light bulb that went on for exactly the reasons that you just described. And hey, by the way, I'm also teaching you now.
Yeah.
Right, which I thought was just that had never occurred to me. It was just such a brilliant demo that those guys did. Very interesting stuff.
And it kind of, to me, like enables a lot of the DevOps stuff. If you look at just like the basic CAMS model, we got this culture of automation, measurement, sharing. We've now got a single unified interface to do all of those things.
Yeah.
We're sharing things. We're much better at like monitoring and taking a look at metrics because they're all coming into the same place.
It's a much more social way of doing it too, right?
Right.
Which is, again, breaking down those silos, right, is very important. And so the fact that you can communicate with these people and you're telling them what you're doing and how you're doing it and how it turned out and all of those things, I think that's incredibly cool. It really is.
It's pretty cool. I enjoy talking about it and writing about it and that kind of stuff.
I'm just back here taking some notes silently. I have given a few performance reviews in past lives to some engineers who were entirely too chatty and too instant messaging, and I'm having to 180 my perspective there. Okay, they were really being productive.
People are still pretty chatty in those things too. That doesn't solve that problem necessarily.
Yeah. There's some other things it's not like this utopia way of like getting work done. There's some things you got to consider. Security is one thing for sure. Yeah. Noise. You get a large organization's going to have a lot of people in there having a lot of conversations. You got more integrations that you've got going on that creates a really noisy channel. So you got it's not perfect, but it is a new kind of improvement.
It's an awesome new tool, I think, to have in the toolbox. Right? It's really really neat.
Anders, you talked a little bit about how ChatOps has touched your electric flow, electric cloud world. Of the integrations that you guys have, to what extent has ChatOps become a central component of that conversation, or hasn't it? Or
I would say calling it a central part might be overselling it a little bit from our perspective, but our customers are certainly very much into it. And I think one of the reasons why the guys at HP did this is because we've always taken the approach with our product that anything, which is, it's not like we discovered this and this is not a huge aha thing, but my philosophy has always been if you can do it in the UI, you should be able to do it from the command line or the API or the REST API or whatever, right? You should be able to automate the automation tool is kind of my point of view. And so, they kind of went from, people were living inside of our web UI, but they really were only doing 4 or 5 different things. So it's kind of a heavyweight thing to have to, no disrespect to my own product, but it's kind of a heavyweight thing to have to go in and learn this thing and figure it out. And I think it's a lot easier to be in an API in a context where you already are. This is already where you're going to be discussing why we're doing this, what we're doing, what went wrong, and oh, by the way, here's how I'm going to fix it. And then the back end systems do what the back end systems do, right? And so I think for that reason, it's pretty cool. It's a very low low friction way to kind of get into the kind of some of the automation and some of the orchestration that you have to do around these things.
I feel like it's just really the natural evolution of things. Like all these services and tools that we use every day, they have great APIs, all kinds of functionality. And we created this world. We want that API so that we can just do the thing we need to do in the way we want to do it. We build our own little interfaces and that kind of stuff,
do
automation chains.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, and so now we can still do all that stuff, but also have a place to collaborate on it and discuss it. So it's just kind of creating a one-stop shop of getting everything done and discussing it. So I don't know. I think it's really cool, and I think it's going to be. I'm seeing just in the 2 years that I've been sort of aware of this concept, because it's been around since late 2011. The term itself came from GitHub. They sort of kind of brought this whole ChatOps thing to fruition, but since then it's been taken off.
When you're something of an authority on this topic, as I understand it as well, is that?
Yeah. Well, I started writing a lot about it and giving some talks, and then I realized that there's really, other than some blog posts and a few YouTube videos from some of the people at GitHub, there's really not a lot of resources out there on it. But I was getting a lot of people asking me about it. So I wrote ChatOps for Dummies, like late 2013 or so, or I guess it was 2014. And then I'm carrying around in my backpack, actually, wherever that is, the final kind of draft for ChatOps, a ChatOps book that's coming out with O'Reilly later this year.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. That's not a small piece of work, I bet.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know. Right now, it's currently under 100 pages, so it's going to be one of those lighter books. A little bit more of a deeper dive than the previous Dummies book, but still more conceptual. It's not going to be a lot of code. It's not going to require much of a technical background to understand it. It's really meant for kind of jump-starting the conversations and having the right language to go talk to senior management about, hey, we should maybe look into this. So it's more of a why and a little bit of how, but more philosophical and kind of just meant to get the gears turning, I guess.
Well, so we're here in Austin. We're at ChefConf. We heard Automate as a new announcement. We heard Habitat has just come out as well. But what are you guys kind of taking away from the conference? Why did you come to the conference? How is this significant to you?
Well, I think we've been working with Chef and partnering with them and integrating with them for quite a number of years, and it's it's just one of the shows that you go to, and a lot of it has to do with the people that come here. I think it's great to come and hear the announcements and all of those kinds of things, but it's really the DevOps support group, environment to kind of talk to people. What are your problems? How are you solving them? What are your challenges? Those kinds of things. And I think it's great the way the industry is starting to mature a little bit. We're really starting to take ourselves a little bit more seriously and talk about culture and all of those kinds of things. And I think that's always exciting to see. And then of course all the technology that you see and the people that you meet is a huge reason to be here.
The DevOps Support Group Conference. That's right.
Yeah. Similar story for us. I mean, it's just part of the DevOps community, and Chef is really, really good at community, and we like to be here. Obviously, up until recently, there wasn't a lot of interest of like integrating in things like Chef into our tool, but that seems to be changing. People are wanting to know more about what's going on within all of their tools. Which is cool. I think it kind of speaks to what DevOps is actually starting to provide as a swell, as a movement. And so we just like to be part of this community, and these are our people. These are our customers. A ton of our customers are here, so it's good for us to be able to interact with them, and then get the awareness out to those who haven't heard about VictorOps and what we can do. That's kind of our approach to a lot of conferences. It's just we want to make sure people know that VictorOps is part of this community, and that we're trying to help you solve your problems. And it's just fun being part of the whole thing.
I'm gonna sneak in. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I had a question. You're both industry veterans. I remember it seems to be a sea change in how organizations view software. Like 15 years ago, it was it was COTS and
software is eating the world.
Now it seems to DevOps is to a good extent enabling this or pushing this or pulling or whatever. But I mean, is this true? I mean, are you seeing that amongst your customers that their relation to software is different than it was 10 years ago?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll probably piss off some Agile or some DevOps people by saying this, but I see Agile as sort of the beginning, and DevOps is kind of the last mile in terms of what we're doing in the industry, right? So Agile for now, if you go read the manifesto, obviously I'm not 100% sort of letter of the law accurate here, but it really ended up focusing on Dev and QA and product ownership, right? Much less so on ops, even though it was very much about how do we deliver software? And so I think DevOps to me is kind of now we want to plumb the last mile. Right now we want to kind of finish that bridge and be able to drive over it, and I think the what we've seen a lot with the sort of the unicorns, the Googles, the Netflixes, the Etsy's, and so on. We're now getting to the point where decent sized enterprises can actually buy the stuff off the shelf a little bit more. Now you still need the culture, you still need all that kind of stuff around it, but you don't need the army of 1,000 20-year-olds writing Python code to do your deployment, your deployment systems, those kinds of things. You can actually buy this stuff now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think the term DevOps itself kind of came from this concept of, well, what if we took all the things we learned from Agile software development and we applied that to infrastructure? What if we took all that stuff that's speeding up the delivery and the quality of the code, and we put that on top of our concerns as infrastructure people? And that's sort of where we are now. And then it's evolved even beyond that. Marketing, sales, finance, they're all starting to use the same principles of DevOps, being more transparent and sharing and automating. And that's the cool thing, is it's not just about the development operations. It just kind of started there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that I think is kind of cool is that we really are kind of addressing some of the cultural things, right? And for so many years, one of the biggest problems with software has been, we're always trying to fit 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound crap bucket. And starting to acknowledge culturally that this is not like building bridges, right? We've been building bridges for hundreds of years. We understand how to do that. Software is not yet at the point where it's like building bridges. It just isn't. There is a creative aspect to it. There is a operational monitoring aspect to it, and all of the cultural things where we're trying to, we were trying to manage very top down as an industry. I think we've sort of proven that doesn't really work that well, or at least for sure it doesn't make people happy. It doesn't necessarily make customers happy. It sure as hell doesn't make employees happy, and especially ops people, right? And that we need to treat this as one problem. And we've gotten to the point now where, as Andreessen said, software is eating the world. A huge amount of competitive advantage that people have is in their software, right? Car companies. Do you buy a car company because of the size of the engine most times? No, you buy it because it has Bluetooth integration. It can play your songs and display your album covers, right? Well, at least that's what I do. That's what I'm looking for. But I don't want to speak for the rest of the world. But because that's the case, your ability to deliver software now has a huge impact on your competitive, and the competitiveness of your company in the industry. And if you read the State of DevOps report that Puppet and the IT Revolution people put out, the difference between the high performers and the low performers is not measured in percentages. It's measured in X. You are a high-performing DevOps organization. You deploy 200 times more frequently than a low-performing DevOps organization, right?
Boy, Anders, between the Agilists out there that you've certainly teed off
pissing
earlier,
everybody off today.
now the Puppet. Well, let's just make sure we get the correct spelling of Anders' name so that we. Okay. Well, guys, I think we're at the top of our time. Certainly want to thank you for being guests on the show.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed having you guys. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us. It's been great.